Data analysts spend hours and hours pulling data from large databases, cleaning that data, and then trying to get insights from it. But what if I told you that you can automate most of that process and get insights in just a few seconds using n8n? My name is Frank, and I have built this system comprising of 3 different agents that are going to exactly do that. They're going to pull data using SQL from this large database that I found. It's a sample database of comprising more than 500,000 rows. It's an e-commerce database. It's going to pull that data and then turn it into a chart, for example, so that you can just get the insights that you need and make decisions from it really quick using natural language. I will also be using the latest models that just got released, such as GPT 4.5 and Claude 3.7, so that you understand their strengths and weaknesses, and to also understand how to set them up inside n8n. I think that this workflow, if applied properly and in the right scenarios, can save you tons of hours and also have you not rely on a data analysis team to get insights that can drive your business forward. Let's cut the fuzz and let's get straight to it. I'm going to take you through this quick presentation so that you get a little background on what's going on. The way data has been done until recently is the following. So we've manually queried databases using SQL. We copy paste data inside reports, and we use business intelligence tools, which in some way does the complex processes out, but they're still clunky and a bit tedious to use. If you ever used Power BI, for example, or Tableau, these are tools that have a very complex interface and still require you to learn them. So it can take weeks for you to learn in order for you to start understanding what's going on, right? Okay, so as I said before, we're going to build a system that comprises of this orchestrator agent, which can then call a SQL agent, which is going to search through a database by generating SQL code. And then we have this other visualization agent that is going to grab the insights from that SQL agent and then fill in a URL, okay, that we're then going to send over to an external service, which is called quickchart.io. This is what's going to generate the chart for us. And then with that URL, we will be able to render that inside the conversation. This doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll show you later how it works. It should be more clear. Essentially, you can see it here. So this is the workflow. And this orchestrator agent that you see here has access to these 2 tools. Okay, these 2 represent these 2 agents, right? The visualization agent and then the database agent or the assistant. Although you might think, wow, this is relatively simple, right? I didn't know it's going to be that simple. It looks like it, right? But the actual prompts and the actual testing that goes behind these things actually take a lot of time. So you might see a lot of videos out there that build these multi-agentic systems with like 20, 30 different tools. But the reality is that most of these systems don't work in reality, right? For when you actually put them in businesses and you put them in practice, they actually don't work, because the way you got to think about these agents and the tools that you add to them and all that stuff, they're like humans. So if you give this agent 20 tools and then you think about, okay, this LLM that powers this agent has a specific context length, okay? Let's put it in context. Let's say 15 pages, okay? The whole context that you can give to it is 15 pages. Okay, given those 15 pages, how much you can teach it about the 30 different tools that it has attached to it. Think about that, and then think about another scenario where we have the same 15 pages to write instructions to it, but now it only needs to use 2 tools, right? 7.5 of those pages can be written to teach it how to use 1 tool, and then the other 7.5 pages, you can use it to teach the other tool. And it's going to have so much knowledge about how to use these tools, compared to connecting it to 20 different tools, right? It's going to know very little about each tool that it's not going to be able to perform, the tool use effectively. So the way you're going to think about this is like a human. If you give the human 20 different tools and you teach it how to use all these 20 tools versus another human, which you only need to tell them how to use 1 tool, how good do you think this person will use this 1 tool versus this other person using all of the individual tools? So have a thought about that. And consider these LLMs and these agents as humans with access to tools, and you having to teach them how to use all these different tools. They work in a similar way to us, okay? But anyways, I'm going to take you through a demo now so that you see how this works. So we're going to use the chat instance in this case. I tried to add this Telegram integration here, but I was running into issues. So I just want to show you the simple version, and perhaps in another video I can show you how I can integrate it with Telegram or another tool. So if you're interested about that, drop a comment down below and let me know if you want me to build this on top of another tool, okay, such as Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever you want. Okay, so let's test this out. So I'm just gonna say hey, right? So when we trigger it, doesn't trigger the other 2 tools. So now I'm going to say what tables do you have access to? Now it knows that it needs to access the query database to be able to, search through the tables in Supabase. We're using Supabase in this case. Hey there, just briefly want to stop the video again to announce that I have launched the website of my new AI agency, Neurotect AI. If you're a business owner wanting to have AI solutions and AI systems implemented within your business processes to save time or increase revenue, make sure to go to our website and book a free AI consultation with us. I'll see you there. So let it do its thing. And it says, okay, here are the tables I have access to. Okay. So a couple of different things that I've added. I told you before that the system is extremely good at searching through larger databases and more complex queries. These queries are not, give me all the names in column A. This is more involved. So this could be anything from, I'll give you some examples now, but queries like, give me the top 5 performing products by sales region and then generate me a chart for it. So things that you might possibly see inside a business that can actually drive value from which you can actually make decisions from. Okay, decisions that are going to drive the business forward or insights that you might have not known about that can drive the business forward. These insights get better and better and better the more data you have, because who's going to search in this case, right? Let me try to zoom in here. Who's going to search 542,000 rows? So this is just one table. Imagine you have 1 million rows and you have 30 of them. That could be the case for big companies. So there's a lot of potential in selling these type of products to larger enterprises, which are struggling with getting good insights or relying on a big data team to get these insights and these little gaps that might be good for a business to know. So we have this, as I said, we have this invoices table. This is from actually a data set from Kaggle. So this is an e-commerce database from a retail store in the UK. Okay. So in this scenario, we're going to ask the invoices table. So inside, there's not much variety that we can ask through here, but I'm going to use the other tables so that we can get, this is going to be just an example of how you can search 542,000 rows quickly using the system. And I'm going to have to ask something relatively simple, but then with the other tables, there's more columns. So we can ask more complex queries that, you're not able to do properly with Google Sheets as a tool. So in this case, given the invoice table, inside the invoice table, find the top 5 best-selling product by total revenue along with the descriptions, and then create a graph for it. Okay. So now this orchestrator agent knows that it needs to query the database, and you can't see it here because it has this trigger, but you can see here on the right what's going on. Okay. So the OpenAI model knows that we need to query this database, and it did just right now. It sent a SQL query that it thinks it needs. And then this is being sent back by the SQL agent to the orchestrator agent. The LLM then decides what it needs to do next. It triggers the generate chart tool, and then we're going to see a response right here in the chat, right? We're going to render this URL that you see here, and here it is. So here are the top 5 best-selling products by total revenue visualized in a bar chart. Okay, so the graph looks a bit dodgy, but this is just because, I didn't put weeks or many days in building this. So this is just a matter of refining the prompt, giving it more context on the quick chart API in this case. Okay, there's another alternative that I mentioned, which is to run n8n locally and install packages, which I think you can. Confirm me if I'm wrong, but you can install packages that then you can use inside the Python environment inside n8n to build other stuff. There's other chart packages that are native within Python, which are, let me try to remember. So d3.js is really good. Matplotlib is a really good one, and you can create really cool charts. But yeah, anyways, it did a couple steps as you see here. Let's go through it. So buffer memory, it goes through this. So in case we mentioned something in the past that needs to have as context. Let's say I mentioned, let's use the invoice chart, and then afterwards I say the query. Well, it needs to know what table do I need to make this query on. And in the past few conversations, I mentioned the invoice table. So it needs to grab that from the previous convo as context to know what table to use. So chat model, then we query the database, as I mentioned before, back to the chat model. And say, okay, well, I have this information. Now I'm going to generate a chart, and I'm going to first generate, it's called chart.js, it's JavaScript language. And then it's going to be converted or going to be added by the visualization agent. It's going to package that query inside a URL. And then we're going to be able to render that URL in the chat. Once again, it's okay. I'll be covering this later on. That goes back into the chat model, and then it decides, okay, well, yep, we pretty much got the chart and the insight, so we're gonna give it back to the user. And this is what we get. Cool, isn't it? Okay, now we're going to put in a bit more of an involved query so that you understand the power of SQL over just searching through a normal Google Sheet or Excel file, okay? Before we do this, I want you to understand that I paused the video because I found some errors that, were happening inside the workflow, and I corrected them now. So now nothing in the nature that I saw before should happen again. First thing is that the visualization agent before, perhaps you didn't catch it, but before it was not an actual agent because it didn't have access to a tool. Why was this an issue? Well, this was an issue because we were sending stuff here onto the agent. So it would process that input and then generate one output. It would not be able to use any tool to refine itself. So now with access to this code tool, now it can look at the input that's coming in, catch any typos, and then correct itself using this bit of code that I added. So now it's able to iterate, it's able to check, and then push the output. Before it was just input and then output. And then also change the bits of the prompt so that it's a bit more robust and a bit better. So we're gonna for this second part of the demo, we're going to query this US food store sales table, and it contains a lot of stuff. It contains data about an e-commerce store with food products across many different markets, and total expenses, marketing, and all that. So let's see how it does. Okay, it's querying the database, OpenAI chat model, generating the chart. Cool. The highest and lowest average profit margins by state and market region are illustrated in this radar chart. So this is pretty cool. Okay, let me open this. So you can see that we can discover insights that we did not know before about our data, right? In this case, I predefined it, but perhaps we could ask the agent or the system, hey, what are some things that perhaps didn't know about my data? And then you can search it and perhaps give you an illustration that you have not seen before, that could drive growth in your company. This is a radar chart, and we see Central, Iowa, Illinois, New York, California, Massachusetts. We see all these regions and the average profit margin. Of course, the graphs are not the best, but I think we're kind of pushing the limits already with what quickchart.io can do and what we can add with the agent inside n8n, right? So with Make, this was not possible, of course. With n8n, you can do stuff, but there's always a top wall that you end up hitting if you're doing a bit more stuff that's involved, right? As I said, I was building my startup, right? This Docusphere startup. I was doing it in code. With code you have infinite flexibility with things, which sometimes you can't do with this. So I feel like we're pushing the boundaries with what we can do here. Of course, I didn't try the local version of n8n. Perhaps you can install, as I said, local libraries. Then perhaps we can use matplotlib, for example. We can install this library and then do a bit better visuals. But the quickchart.io, I think it's a pretty generic API, and it's limited to chart.js language, and obviously their API. But yeah, you can see that. You can see visualization highlight that Illinois and Central Market has the highest average profit margin, okay? We can ask as well, are there insights that I might have not known about these products that could drive business growth or could increase my margins? Prepare a visual as well. And or could decrease my losses, okay? Very generic. Let's see what it comes up with. Doing pretty good. I thought it was going to take much more time given the type of work that it's doing. Honestly, imagine having a team doing this for you, right? A team of analysts searching through SQL and all that stuff, and obviously generating the insights using a business intelligence tool, right? It would take time. So here are some key insights from the data which identify areas for potential business growth. Coffee has the highest average margin, indicating strong profitability and potential for expanded marketing or specialized coffee products. Herbal tea espresso also generate good margins. Tea still holds considerable profitability, though slightly lower than coffee-based beverages, signaling room for strategic pricing or premium positioning. And then we get the average profit margin per product type. Obviously, the coloring is not good, and that's because we probably need to make the prompt a bit better. If I perhaps spend a bit more time into this system, I'm pretty sure that I could fix this issue. But yeah, still gives really good data that I could act on, right? That's the whole point. and I didn't spend much on it. So that just shows you the power of doing these type of things that actually have a real use case. Okay, another good query that I made to the system was the following. So a similar thing, right? And in this case, I got a tech product sales table, and it has other information about phones and whatnot. So here are the key insights about your top products, right? Just for you to understand that, you can make other visuals as well. So in this case, it's a double bar graph. It says the key insights. So now, nice coloring. Strategically, you could consider optimizing pricing, focusing on marketing efforts and whatever. But you see the graph is really nice, and you get something out of it, right? That's all I wanted to show. Yeah, let's keep going with the video. Okay, I think we were here. So yeah, just to quickly understand the difference, I think I already explained, but I'm just going to say it again. SQL is great for, these complex queries because it's so quick to get a retrieval on databases or tables within databases that are, hundreds of thousands of rows long. You saw how quick that was, right? For the first one, 520 something thousand rows, and it took 20 seconds to bring a good insight from. So you can understand that, Google Sheet and Excel are great, but they reach a top, right? They reach a ceiling, and then that's where SQL then comes along and then starts from that ceiling onwards. This just shows that both of them are good. They are good, but they're for different use cases, right? SQL is more for production, for larger enterprise solutions. So there's still the possibility for an n8n to, if prompted properly and if you spend enough time to create stuff for larger companies. So I encourage you to look into this a bit more and fiddle with it. I'll leave the tool in the description so you can download it. Okay, so I'm dropping some information on these two models. Although I think that, especially recently, every week they release new versions of these models. I still think it's important to just lay out the improvements and most importantly, the strengths of each, because, every model has a specific strength that, if you understand, then you can leverage each of these in different use cases. Perhaps, if you have a larger system, which model to use for what. And I think it's still really important. More than showing you the latest updates and what these models are now better at, because they're always going to be better, right? Every single release is going to be better than the previous one. Hopefully. But yeah, you get the idea. So I put these out. More than that, I want to show you that Claude 3.7, sorry, apart from obviously the fact that it can hold more tokens, it's getting really good at using external APIs, which is obviously a plus. The hybrid reasoning as well. So actually something that is important here. This is, I think, one of the first models that it's able to think slow and think quick, interchangeably. So it can choose to just answer quick, and then it can choose to do it slowly. So I think Claude did not have that before. So I guess this is a nice update to have for this new model. But the important part is the coding skills. The coding skills is something that Claude in general, the Claude models are really, really good at, especially in this case, 3.7 is really good at. And you're going to see it when I run it. You already saw it already in the demo, but I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to show you how to add it. 4.5 is really easy to add. I think they added it already in the drop down. I tried it, and it's pretty good at calling the right tools. Although in this system, nothing crazy is going on. I've tried it already with other, with my personal agent, for example, and it does pretty good. But yeah, as I mentioned, so if 3.7 is good at coding, then that means that it's pretty good then at generating SQL queries, and I tried it. For with other models, it used to take so long to get that SQL query completed, right? So in this database assistant, which has access to the database, that you don't see the tool as explained in the previous video, but yeah, it's using a tool in the background. It's really good. And yeah, I was putting an example here, the different queries. Okay, so for this works really good in Google Sheets, and this is going to be a bit more of a struggle to do accurately on Google Sheets. And with SQL, it's a breeze. This is a breeze. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the presentation, and we're gonna go to the build. I'm gonna show you how I've built this. Okay, so let's go through this. We had a chat message trigger. I don't know if I mentioned before, but I was working on this Telegram integration. That's why this is called Telegram SQL Agent. But yeah, so what I wanted to do was to send the charts as an image through Telegram as well. So if you want to see a video like that, let me know. I can make a video of it. I just need to figure out how that works. Perhaps I need to install this locally and then install some libraries. But if you guys want it, I can figure out a way, I'm pretty sure. So when a chat message is received in this case, we are sending this to the Orchestrator agent. I'm gonna run this so that you get to see perhaps a little flow on how this would work. So let's say, give me the top 3 tech products and create a bar chart. Something quick. Okay, so we have something. Let's see what we have. Okay, we have this, but the whole point was to, to go through this with information, with data already pre-filled. So when chat message is received, we pass this onto the orchestrator agent, and here we add the query. Okay, some people add the prompt here, so they put something like do this and that, etc., and then they put here's the user input. I don't think this is the way to do it, because then why would n8n put a system that would allow you to add a system message below here? Okay, a lot of people do it this way, but if you want to keep good practices, I suggest you only add the input from from the user here, and perhaps you want to do some manipulations. Perhaps you want to add regex, right? A regular expression to change the format of this input. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it on the text box. But I don't suggest you put the system prompt or anything similar here, okay? I think that's where the system message comes along. So I added this prompt, orchestrator agent system prompt. Has ropes and objectives. It has the order in which you trigger the tools and whatnot. So yeah, pretty much everything is the same. You see here, chat input, and well, this, I mean, we already have the completed agent output because it goes first through these processes, right? It calls these tools and all that. So what we see here is the final tool. Okay, so here's the bar chart displaying. So I'll explain you now how we can see the other parts in between, the other mid executions, if you may, sub workflow, if you want to call it that. Okay, but anyways, we add that here. Okay, that should be straightforward. We add this chat model here, so we pass obviously the tool, and yeah. So in this case, we're using 4.5. In this case, you can just add it straight away. Okay, if you don't have it, then I suggest that you upgrade to the latest version of n8n if you don't see it. So the way to do that is to go to, I'm just going to duplicate that so that I don't lose anything here. I can go back to it quickly. You go to this admin panel here on the left part, hit admin panel, and then go to manage, and then upgrade to the latest version and hit save. Okay, we're here on the OpenAI chat model. Just choose 4.5 preview. That's all you need to do. And then obviously, if you want to add the credentials for OpenAI to add the API key, you find that by going to platform.openai.com and go to API keys right here. Okay, that's where you can create your own API key and paste it here, then hit save. The base URL should be there already. Okay, now we add a window buffer memory. So the session ID comes from the first node, right? This one here. And I put context window 10. So you can add a Postgres SQL. Let me show you. Here, in one of the previous videos, I added this Postgres chat memory. And that allows you to store the chat memory in a database, right? Similar to here, you can add another table. I think I can show you perhaps here. So this is another project. And you can store the chat conversations here. I store them as vectors, right? It's sort of a RAG. I don't want to get too deep into it, but I have another video explaining that, how to do that. But yeah, just for now, window buffer memory does the job. But as I said, you can use this for analytics if you're building a solution out of this to track or to do anything with the conversations. But anyways, the important part is here. Okay, so let's put this like this so that it makes sense in terms of order of how we are triggering these tools. Okay, because first of all, no matter what we do, if we trigger any tools, the first tool that we have to trigger is the query database trigger. Then comes the generate chart. Sometimes we don't trigger anything, and that's fine. But if we trigger something, first has to be the query database, and we state that on the system message, okay? There's an order, you see? Number one, and I explain it, explicitly. So let's go back to this. We add a description, name, the source is database. So database in this case is the n8n database, which holds all of your workflows, and yeah, the ID. You can get the ID here, right? If you go to the URL, this is the name of the workflow. Why are we using the same workflow? This is because we're doing a little trick here, right? This node that you see here, usually it's added on other workflows. The idea is that, you have a nice little workflow here, and then you trigger another workflow, and then, you do what you need, and then the answer comes back. But you can do this little trick to save space and, to save the number of workflows that you have to make, because if you are on the paid plan in n8n, they only allow you to have 5 live workflows, right? So, therefore, this is pretty nice. It comes in pretty handy. Also, it's just nicer to look at, right? Rather than having to switch between 2 different workflows. But anyways, that's what we do. So we are basically calling the same workflow. And by calling the same workflow here, we are calling this trigger. And these two and this is kind of the nexus between, communication between orchestrator agent and these 2 agents, okay? But anyways, We add a description to let it know what to do. Workflow ID, you can also select from list. Okay, in this case, it's called Telegram SQL Agent, because this initially, I don't know if I explained you, this was going to be this, right, what I have here, but with the integration wrapped around it so that, you can chat directly through voice as well on Telegram, and it can send you back images as well. But I'm not doing that at the moment because, it was getting a bit lengthy and I wanted to get, value there already because I have a schedule. So if you want me to make another video on the Telegram agent, right, this wrapped around the Telegram integration, let me know. I can make a video about it. I can figure it out. Let's come back to this. And the most important thing here is the query and the event. Okay, so this is what we're sending through to this node that then is going to decide what agent to trigger. We add these two, and then in this case, we have the event to be set to SQL. Okay, I think we can just, we don't need this, and we can just set it to SQL all the time so that we don't let the agent decide, because at the end of the day, language models are non-deterministic. So perhaps this is the better way to do it, right? Okay, let's leave it like that. And we're going to do the same with the generate chart. Okay, same. We have another description and we add a little bit of, this is important so that it knows what format to retrieve the URL in, because it needs to be in a specific format, right? So we're constructing this quickchart.io URL, which then gets rendered as an image. So we need that URL to be very specific. So we are stating that here. Same again, right? Query describing the chart to generate. So basically what's happening is that I'm sending a query onto here, and depending on, okay, let me change that actually. And what was visual? And depending if it says, depending if the event is visual or SQL, it's going to trigger one or the other agent. Okay, so this is the concept of agent as a tool. I'm choosing which agent to trigger and get an answer back from. I mean, you can see that there, but you can even see this here, right? I'm triggering it as a tool, right? I'm sending a query, a structured query, and then I'm triggering the agent. I'm getting a result from the agent, sending it back to the orchestrator agent. So that's what's happening. So you see here that we don't see any executions. Why? The reason is because this is considered as a sub workflow, okay? So this is the main workflow that is triggering another sub workflow because we have this trigger essentially. And if you want to see this trigger, you have to do something. You have to go to executions, and then you can go to the last ones. And what usually happens is that, so yeah, we trigger this first, as you see, right? This first part, and then this second part, it usually follows in order. So first one is the SQL agent gets triggered, and then you can see, obviously, you can see what happens. So let's have a look through this. So what comes in here? We get a query. Okay, the event is SQL, therefore this gets triggered as SQL. We come down here, and then this database agent gets that query, and then we do some things with it. Okay, we write a prompt, and then we essentially, what do? It actually does the action of going through the Supabase table and then retrieving the right information back. Okay, so you can see that here. Right, so that's what it does. And then in this case, I don't know if you realized, well, I didn't realize because I didn't tell you, I will be using the Sonnet 3.7 model. I'll show you now how to do that. Okay, but essentially, I actually showed you this already, isn't it? And then what we're doing is setting a response, okay, just so that we're making sure we're sending the right thing back to the tool, okay? Because this tool right here, this query database, we're sending an input and then we're receiving an output from here, okay? We want to make sure we're sending only the right information, so that's why we set this node, okay? Now we're going to see this one here. This is the second part, which generates a visualization. So now the switch is visual, and now we are triggering this visualization agent, and we add this prompt here. So we have a prompt that explains to this agent that I wanted to generate chart.js. It's very specific, okay? It's a language that then we wrap inside a larger URL, okay? But this little section, this little section that changes, okay, and that changes based on the type of graph that we want. So we want a blue bar chart with certain things and the axis in a different name or whatever. That gets all defined inside chart.js. So we're telling this visualization agent to generate that based on the insights that we have from the SQL agent, okay? This gets already predefined by the orchestrator agent. So We run this database tool, we get an agent, we get an answer back, okay, an insight, and then the agent, the orchestrate agent is like, okay, now we have this, now I'm going to send that information as a structured query to the generated chart tool, okay? The type is visual, okay, this is coming to the visualization agent, and now I'm going to generate chart.js. Okay, cool. Here we're using, again, Claude. Okay, in this case, it's 3.5. That's fine. We're not doing anything crazy, but I'm going to show you now how to set up 3.7 here, Claude 3.7, because it's generating SQL, and the better the model, the more accurate output. So yeah, that's what we do here. And we added the code tool. I ended up adding this because there used to be some little things that were happening, inconsistencies that I had to fix. So adding this code tool was very helpful. And then we have this output structure parser. So we received information from the orchestrator. Now we are generating chart.js, and now we need a specific format for it, okay? So chart.js, we need a very specific input schema for this, okay? Let me see if I can put it on JSON format. Yeah, so we receive this, and then we have this very specific input schema, and then, this gets filled in. And then we have this setter response, and essentially what we have here, so you see this, right? This is what we actually end up rendering on the conversation. Okay, so this JSON output is the chart.js, okay? The thing that I was telling you before. So that gets placed here, and then we define the quickchart.io. By the way, this is a free service. We set up the width to be 400. I found that that's a good width. You can change it to whatever. And then we need to do some encoding and stringifying the JSON. And then we add that chart.js dialect, or whatever you want to call it. And then once you do all that, right, you do these transformations, you get the following URL, okay? And that's what you can do to then, copy that perhaps you want. And if you paste it here, you can see the actual bar chart that gets stored within their servers, but we can call as a URL back in the n8n server, right? So it's pretty neat. It's pretty smart. That means we don't have to, deal with all that stuff, and we can, this is perfect for automation tools because cloud automation tools don't have inbuilt libraries normally. But yeah, that's what happens here. But I covered this, I covered that, and yeah, we don't need memory here because it's just generating SQL. I need to understand if memory will be important, but I think it's good. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is change this model to Anthropic 3.7, okay? And people think that you can just do it like this, okay? I saw a couple of videos saying that, you can just change this to 3 and that's it. And in the surface, it looks like it actually works. So let me show you. Not to call anyone, but I saw a couple of videos just having a look at 3.7 and n8n and all that. So look at that. So queries the database, right? And it contains 7 tables, okay? So it looks like it works, right? But then look at the executions, and then you're going to see that, so let's go to here. Okay, let's look at the module responsible for the querying of the database. This one, right? You go to the logs, and here you are going to see, if you go on JSON, you're going to see that the model used is 3. It defaults back to the 3.5 Sonnet model. So no, disproven. It doesn't work. You can't just do that, okay? You either, so let's delete this. You either do it with Open Router, or you directly send an HTTP request to Claude, okay? I'm gonna do it with Open Router because even though it's a bit more expensive, it's more flexible to do because you can add other models and it's very quick, right? So if money is not a big of a concern to you, it's not even that expensive, to be honest. Depends on how much time you're saving for your client. But anyways, set it there. We're going to create a new credential. So we're going to go to openrouter.ai, and then we're going to sign in. I'm going to sign in. Cool, I'm in. And now we're going to go to my keys. Okay, I used a couple keys, but essentially we can create a new key. So n8n test. Let's create that. Copy that. Okay. And then we go here, create the credential, add in your API key, and you should be good to go, okay? Save that. Now you can choose between all sorts of models, okay? We have a lot. These tend to be all open source. You have Perplexity here, Qwen, we have OpenAI. So if you go and search Anthropic and then Cloud 3.7 Sonnet. Okay, we have the thinking model and then we have Sonnet. So there you go. So that's how you select it, okay? Okay, so let's reset everything and let's just say, bring me a valuable insight from the invoices table. Okay, so if the usage of the Claude 3.7 model works, we should be able to get an insight from the table and we should successfully trigger the database tool. So let's see if that works. And we should get an insight from this, meaning that we successfully triggered Claude 3.7. There you go. Perfect. So we got some sales performance data. That's amazing. And that's pretty much it. So you saw how easy it is to just go to Open Router and set that. And you know, there's this way of doing it. And as I said, you can also do an HTTP request, but I choose to do it this way because you have a crazy amount of model choices here. And it's just easy to switch them, right? If you want to test something out quickly in your environment. Cool. So that was an insight for you regarding how to use Claude 3.7 and also how to set up GPT 4.5 and, you know, their use cases, what they're good at and where they're good at. So as you saw, Claude 3.7 and just the Claude family in general are really good with coding and especially generating SQL, which is part of the coding environment, right? The coding set of things. And GPT 4.5 stands out more, as well as the other GPT models, but especially this one with the tooling side of things. So you saw them in play. And you know, I put them to play in, especially in a very useful scenario and use case, which is, you know, building this amazing data analyst team, which extracts insights from you from a large database using natural language. So you saw we had 400,000 rows in that instance where we had a variety of information and we could extract useful insights in the form of text, but also in the form of graphs. And yeah, also if you want to do some one-on-one consulting with me, I'm thinking about doing that as well. So make sure to drop a comment if you want to see that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's getting late over here, so I'm probably going to head to sleep now. Having said that, if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't, let me know why in the comments below. Okay, cool. Any suggestions for next videos, let me know. Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good morning. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.